Local elected officials play a vital role in leading communities around the state. The Mississippi Secretary of State's office oversees elections in the state of Mississippi. We recently sat down with Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann to learn more about the role local elected officials play in their communities and the election process.
They basically run the government when you get down to it. But people come here, the members of the House and the Senate, and they make laws. But when you get down to it, county government is the one that picks up the garbage, repairs the streets, furnishes a jail, hires the police, the sheriff's department. All the things that make government run come out of county government. And that's why our boards of supervisors, our tax assessors, tax collectors, circuit clerks, the sheriff, those are all what people see on a day-to-day basis. They have the most effect on their day-to-day lives. So county government, if it doesn't work in a county, the county usually doesn't function very well.
The role of a local elected official plays in the community is not to be taken lightly.
Basically, they reflect the community. Now, when you run for office, you give up a whole lot. A lot of your personal time, a lot of anonymity. You know, you can't hardly go in somewhere where somebody doesn't know you and say, oh, I wish you hadn't voted this way, or why didn't you fix my street, or whatever. So, I mean, you have a lot, it's a full-time, 24 hours a day job for a lot of people to get elected. So it's important that they reflect the community, that they first have a great deal of love for what they're doing. They better like what they're doing, or they'll be disappointed. And like the people in the community, you'll see that people who get elected usually are people persons. And then the last thing, of course, they're what guides you for the future. You know, in the future, the decisions made on ad valorem tax exemptions, or on education funding, or on the new school, or pushing a bond for higher education, for education in the community, all of those things will come out of the leadership of your county.
Making the decision to run for office requires thoughtful consideration.
Just running for office is a mistake. You know, I don't think you should run for office. So I want to change the way the county does economic development. I want the school system to be better, and I'm on a tear to go do that. So to do that, I've got to get elected. You know, I refer to it as hired. You know, when everybody asks me, so what do you do? Well, I got hired as Secretary of State. It's a job that I'm supposed to be doing. I know what my job duties are supposed to be. I think if you just say, well, I'm going to do something so I can get elected, you're probably doing it for the wrong reason. The first place to make the decision is the kitchen table. I'm just telling you. And if you lose your vote in the kitchen table, you don't need to go further. Because when you are in public office, like I was just telling you, you lose an anonymity. People look at your children, what are they doing? You know, did they get a special break in school? Or, you know, we even have places where somebody got elected cheerleader because somebody was supervisor. I mean, come on, y'all. So you have all of those things that come into play. So the first place to go is the kitchen table. And if you lose there, you need to stop. If you win at the kitchen table, then the next place to go is all your friends, and ask them what they think, and particularly close friends, because they'll tell you sometimes, I wouldn't do that, you know, whatever, and they'll be honest with you, I think. Once you do those two, you could branch out of the community, and you have to ask for money. I mean, it's expensive to run for a House seat here in Mississippi. It may be $50,000. For a board of supervisors, may take $5,000 or $10,000. So, I mean, you got pamphlets to do, or maybe an ad in the newspaper, those kinds of things. So you go through those steps. I think kitchen table, good friends, broaden out to the community, and raise money.
Once someone has made the decision to run for office, they should fully understand the roles and responsibilities of that office.
Well, we have on our website, and all the websites do this, the legal requirements. You know, how old you have to be, how long you have to have lived in Mississippi to be a judge or a board of supervisor or whatever. And then the requirements are statutory. The Board of Supervisors have a great deal of leeway. The tax assessors assess the taxes, of course, for the whole county. Collectors collect the taxes. Circuit clerk runs the elections, and also the circuit judges, and the chancery clerk runs the chancery division and wills and estates and children issues and whatnot. So they're all pretty much outlined in statute what your rights are. And that's a good place to start to see what your responsibilities are.
Political campaign scale and intensity vary with the office you are seeking, but regardless of the size, requires time and planning.
But for the county, you've got 5 supervisors, so there's 5 beats. And those supervisors will be elected from that area. And then the election commissioners are elected from that area. Of course, the sheriff is elected county-wide, as are the circuit clerk, chancery clerk, those kinds of things. So you first have to find out who's going to vote in your election. If you run for the supervisors, you've got 1/5 of the county about, and what I would do, and what I still do, is go house to house. Get up in the morning and go knock on doors, particularly on Saturdays and maybe Sunday afternoons late. But you need to go out into the public and tell them what you want to do, and then listen to what they want you to do. Listening is most times better than telling. So I would encourage you to go out, go door to door in the areas that you will be elected from.
Hey, good to see you.
Just work real hard, and I guess you always have to anticipate somebody's going to try to say you're a bad person about something. You know, in today's political environment, it seems like it's more, if I can make somebody else more negative, I don't have to say what my positives are. I've never been a proponent of that. I think people want a future, look towards the future, and they want a positive attitude. But a lot of our politics so now has gotten where I'm going to run somebody down about, you know, what he did or she did versus what I want to do. And I'm hopeful that that'll change, you know, more positive impacts.
There are specific steps that must be followed when running for public office.
They'll qualify, of course, with their party to start with, and they're typically at least a Republican and a Democrat party. Then there may be a Libertarian or a Green party. There may be others. Those are party primaries. So when you talk about I'm going to run for office, you have to remember, if half of your people are Republican and half Democrat, which party are you going to select? And you are oftentimes, and most every time, better off selecting the party that you've been voting in. If you voted in the Democrat primary, you probably are a Democrat. If you voted in the Republican, you're probably a Republican. If you voted in the Democrat all your times and then you're going to run as a Republican, somebody's going to say he's really not a Republican, you know, or vice versa. So I think you have to pick your party there. And there's some independents, like the mayor of Vicksburg's an independent. There are some independents around. But then you run in your party primary, and you have to win the party primary in order to get on the general election ballot. Now, the party primaries are run by the parties, not the state. So I won't have anything to do with that. And the government should not be in party primaries. The worst thing you could have is a Republican Secretary of State running a Democrat primary. That's not a good idea to me. So I've been opposed to us inserting state government into party primaries. Once you get past the party primary, assume you got elected, then you're in a general runoff, and that would be the Republican versus a Democrat versus a Libertarian or whomever, a Green Party, or whomever the other parties are. Then you have a general election. So the party primaries next year, I think, are in August. Then the general will be the first Tuesday in November of next year. So that's kind of the process that you would go through.
Whether you are considering running for office or just learning more about your local government, you can see that electing qualified leaders for your community is important.
I have just a great deal of respect for the sheriffs and the boards of supervisors, the mayors and the aldermen. They really run the government.
Right.
You know, these people will come here for 3 months and they split up $6 billion. I mean, that's nice, and they give some statutory guidance to these people. But in the end, whether or not the state of Mississippi is going to prosper is probably at the local level. I mean, that's where you'll see innovation. That's where you'll see people commit to their school system. Without an educated workforce, we're not going anywhere. Those happen in over 100 school districts around Mississippi. I think everything functions off your county government. If it's dysfunctional, your county's not going to work. So I think the county elected officials are absolutely critical to the future of the state, and you need to have good ones.
There are many resources available to those who are interested in running for local office, elections, and voting from the Mississippi Secretary of State's office.
If you want to find out information about casting ballots or your local precinct or anything, you can go to Y'all Vote. It's on sos.ms.gov. We instituted that about 6 years ago. Reams of information about the offices, the timing, when you've got to file for, what the eligibility are for to being in a particular office. I've outlined all of that on Y'all Vote. So if you go to Y'all Vote, it'll answer just about everything you need to do, and would remind everybody that they first got to be registered to vote, and then everybody needs to cast a ballot.
You can learn more about local government through the Mississippi State University Extension Service Center for Government and Community Development.